afternoon. I am Linda Moncel, and this afternoon I am going to be reading the story called Dear Ghana. Chapter 1, Pen Pal Surprises. Mr. Wilson asked all the children to take their seats. He pulled a world map down over the chalkboard. "Here's the journey our letters will take," he said. He set his fingertip on Iowa City, Iowa. His finger soared along arc all the way to Ghana, Africa. "Ghana is many thousands of miles from Iowa," he explained. "Life is very different there." A week earlier, Mr. Wilson had announced that his class was going to become pen pals with a classroom of students in Africa. Mr. Wilson rolled up the map. He picked up a piece of chalk. "Please raise your hand if you know what you'd like to say on the letter." He wrote a greeting at the top of the chalkboard. It said, "Dear students of Mr. Addo's class." Danny's hand shot up. "We're very excited to be your pen pals," he said. Mr. Wilson wrote those words under the greeting. Then Sonia raised her hand. "It's autumn here in Iowa. What is the weather like now in Ghana?" Chapter 2, The Letter. The class finished writing the letter. Two of the children copied it onto a clean piece of paper. It read, "Dear students of Mr. Addo's class, we are very excited to be your pen pals. It is autumn here in Iowa. What is the weather like now in Ghana? The leaves of our trees turn from green to red and gold. Then they fall from the trees. They crackle when you walk on them. Soon our town will have a harvest festival. People will decorate their yards with corn stalks and pumpkins. Farmers will come from all over Iowa to sell fruits and vegetables. Our class will put on a play for the whole town. We hope to hear from you soon. Sincerely, the students of Mr. Wilson's class." Mr. Wilson took a photograph of the class. He put it into the envelope with the letter. After school, he took the letter to the post office. 3 weeks later, Mr. Wilson's class received a reply. The children from Ghana had sent a package. Inside there was a letter, a set of photographs, and many small packages. There were also some sheets of paper with a starry pattern. Chapter 3, The Reply. "Let's read the letter first," Louisa suggested. Mr. Wilson opened the envelope and handed the letter to her. Louisa read aloud, "Dear students of Mr. Wilson's class, Ajde Kul, that means hello in the Ga language. We were delighted to get your letter and the photograph. Right now it is the rainy season here in Accra, Ghana's capital city. We do have a harvest celebration called Humowo. During Humowo, we dance, sing, and eat delicious foods. Our school is in the center of Accra. We learn reading, writing, and math. We also study the traditions of our country. Some of these traditions are included in this package. They are gifts for you, dear pen pals. Warm wishes, the students in Mr. Addo's class." "That's a much better than the one we sent," Danny said. "Why, Danny?" Mr. Wilson asked. "Well, they told us a lot about themselves, much more than we told them about us." Noel nodded. "They also sent us some really cool gifts. In the packages were pieces of bright hand-woven fabric. This is kente cloth," Mr. Wilson said. "It got its name from canteen, which means basket." Then Danny had an idea. Maybe we could send some gifts to them. "Harvest gifts," Victor called out. Mr. Wilson scratched his chin. Such as?" "Scarecrows, apple cake, autumn leaves." Mr. Wilson laughed. "Great ideas. We can send apple cake and autumn leaves. You can draw or paint some scarecrows too." Chapter 4, The New Letter. The next morning, Noel and Danny walked up and down the rows, distributing craft supplies. The children started making colorful, funny scarecrows and colored leaves. After lunch, the class wrote a new letter. Dear students of Mr. Otto's class, thank you for the wonderful gifts. The handmade paper and the kente cloth are beautiful. We have made some harvest gifts for you. Farmers use scarecrows to keep birds out of their fields. Apple cake is a favorite harvest festival treat, and leaves of different colors are seen everywhere now. In school, we study the same subjects that you do. We have gym class and music class too. Our favorite sports are soccer, basketball, and baseball. Sincerely, the students of Mr. Wilson's class. Two days later, the gifts were ready. The class packed them up. Mr. Wilson added photographs of last year's Harvest Festival. A week later, the package arrived in Mr. Otto's class. His students loved the gifts. They began to plan for their next package to their new friends. Mr. Otto listened to his excited students. He knew that the two classes would be pals for a long time. Thank you for letting me read this story to you, and have a good afternoon.